For nearly 3 years, America watched the war from a distance. Europe was burning. Millions were dying. Across the ocean, the war consumed nations. But across the Atlantic, America lived in peace. Families carried on with life. The war felt far away.
President Woodrow Wilson believed this was not America's war.
Neutrality was his choice. Peace was his promise. America traded with both sides. Business continued as usual. Money moved. Ships sailed. The ocean felt like protection, a natural wall. Americans followed the war through newspapers. The stories were brutal, but distant. Life continued. Hope remained. Fields were planted. Harvests grew. Factories produced goods, not weapons of war. Wilson hoped neutrality would keep America safe. The nation believed distance meant safety. But peace is fragile, even across oceans. The war was spreading, quietly. The sea was changing. Danger was moving closer. America still believed it could stay out. The nation felt secure, for now. But wars do not respect distance or borders. Something was coming, something unavoidable. Neutral ships sailed on, unaware of what waited. The ocean was no longer safe, not for long. Peace was slipping, slowly, slowly. The news began to change. Warnings appeared. The war felt closer, more real. Neutrality was weakening. The calm was ending. America watched, but history was moving. The war was not finished. It was expanding. And America's distance was about to disappear. America had many reasons to avoid the war. Millions of Germans lived in America. So did the British, and many others.
Our children would love this. They certainly will.
Irish communities feared taking sides. Italians, too, watched carefully.
Wow, look at all the people.
Choosing a side could split the nation. Leaders feared internal conflict.
What are our options?
Limited, but we must act.
Unity mattered more than victory.
I know.
Americans remembered the cost of war. Too many graves, too much pain. They wanted peace, not another war.
Children are peaceful.
Look wonderful, dear.
Life in America felt stable. Most people believed peace would last. Families gathered without fear. War felt like a distant story. Wilson promised the nation one thing: America would stay out of war. Those words brought comfort. People wanted to believe them. Neutrality felt safe and honorable, a way to avoid suffering. The Atlantic Ocean felt protective, a vast shield of water. Distance created confidence. Danger seemed far away. Trade continued across the ocean. Ships moved without fear. Business mattered more than war. Profit still guided decisions. Most sailors felt safe. They sensed no immediate threat. But the mood was changing. The sea was no longer calm. The war was spreading quietly, closer with each passing day. Newspapers carried darker news. Warnings became harder to ignore. Fear slowly entered daily life. Confidence began to crack. Even Wilson felt the pressure. Neutrality was being tested. The ocean no longer felt safe. Unseen dangers waited below. Threats moved silently, without warning or mercy. Sailors sensed something wrong. Fear replaced confidence. The calm was disappearing. Peace was slipping away. America waited in uncertainty. The future felt unclear. The war was moving closer. Distance no longer mattered. Neutrality was weakening fast. Time was running out. America could not stay untouched. The storm was coming. Germany made a dangerous choice, a gamble that changed everything. Submarine warfare returned. No warnings, no mercy. Every ship became a target, civilian or military. Decisions were made in seconds. Lives depended on them. American ships were struck. The ocean turned violent. Men fought to survive. Many never did. Hope drifted on broken boats. Fear filled the sea. America had many reasons to avoid war. The conflict felt distant and unnecessary. The nation was built by immigrants. Many came from lands now at war. German communities were deeply rooted. Their loyalty was to America, not war. Irish Americans formed strong communities. They feared conflict would divide society. Italian families sought stability. War threatened everything they built. America was a mix of many identities. Choosing sides risked internal conflict. Unity was fragile. War could tear it apart.
Me too.
News from Europe brought fear. The destruction felt overwhelming. Images showed brutal realities. Americans wanted no part of it. Memories of earlier wars remained painful. The cost was still remembered. Survivors carried silent trauma. Their suffering warned the nation. Families valued peace above all. They feared losing their sons. Life continued without war. Distance created a false sense of safety. The economy was growing. War threatened that stability. Daily life felt normal. War seemed unreal. People prayed for neutrality. They hoped peace would last. Neutrality became a national belief. Staying out felt like the right choice. Wilson believed war was unnecessary. He trusted restraint over violence. He promised to keep America out. Many believed in his words. The promise brought reassurance. Peace felt achievable. The ocean felt like protection. Distance gave confidence. Trade continued across the sea. America stayed connected, not involved. Geography offered comfort. War felt far away. Ports remained active and calm. Conflict stayed overseas. America supplied goods, not soldiers. Profit replaced sacrifice. Peace settled into routine. Danger went unnoticed. Warnings were subtle. Few paid attention. The calm began to shift. Trouble moved closer. Threats approached unseen. Neutrality weakened. Tensions were rising. Staying out became harder. Doubt spread quietly. Confidence faded. The nation stood uncertain. A decision loomed. Peace felt fragile. Time was running out. Shadows replaced optimism. Change was near. Every second mattered. Neutrality was slipping away. The mood shifted nationwide. Fear quietly grew. The ocean was no longer enough. Protection was an illusion. Danger crossed the waves. Distance failed. A choice was approaching. History was turning. Neutrality would soon end. America could not stay out. America stood at a crossroads. History was about to change forever. For years, the nation watched from afar. Now, distance was no longer possible. The news spread across the country. War had reached America's door. President Wilson stepped forward. His words would shape history.
The room fell silent. A nation listened closely. This war was not for land, it was for principles.
Democracy was the message. Freedom was the promise. Some nodded in agreement. Others feared the cost. The decision was made. There was no turning back. On April 6, 1917, America declared war. The announcement spread fast. Shock filled the streets. Young men felt the call. Duty replaced doubt. The nation asked for sacrifice, and many answered. Families felt fear and pride, both at the same time. Peaceful routines ended. War demanded everything. Factories shifted to war. Production became survival. Steel replaced silence. America prepared for battle. Goodbyes were whispered, promises were made. Mothers held back tears. History moved forward. Trains carried young lives toward an unknown future. The ocean no longer protected. It became a pathway to war. America crossed the Atlantic. Hope traveled with fear. They dreamed of glory. They did not know reality. Europe awaited them, scarred and broken. War had left its mark. Nothing was untouched. The war became real. There was no escape. Fresh faces met tired eyes. Experience met innocence. Clean uniforms met mud. Illusions began to fade. This was modern war. There was no glory here. Confidence turned to silence. Reality had arrived. Training was over. Survival had begun. The battlefield spoke loudly. Words were useless now. The war welcomed them brutally. There was no mercy. Instinct replaced training. Fear became constant. The cost appeared quickly. Blood stained the ground. Ideals met suffering. War tested every belief. Names replaced numbers. Lives became memories. America had entered the war. The balance was shifting. Hope marched with them. So did death. The war had a new force, and the world would change. America was powerful, but it was not ready for war. Its army was small, too small for a global war. Weapons were outdated. Many belonged to another era. Most soldiers were inexperienced. They had never seen battle. Training camps appeared overnight, across the entire nation. Young men answered the call, without knowing the cost. Farm boys left their homes. Fields were left behind. Factory workers joined the ranks. Machines replaced their hands. Students became soldiers. Books turned into rifles. Families said goodbye, not knowing it was final. They left with hope. They returned with fear. Training was rushed. Mistakes were common. Bodies were unprepared. Minds even less. Even leadership struggled. Nothing was fully planned. Uniforms barely fit. Everything felt temporary. Nights were filled with questions. Sleep came slowly. Letters carried hope. Fear stayed unwritten. Many were unfit.
yet still sent forward.
Diseases spread quickly, before bullets did.
Marches hardened them. Pain became routine. They imagined glory. Reality waited elsewhere.
Weapons failed often. Trust was fragile.
Discipline was forced. Fear enforced it. Strength was built painfully, slowly and brutally. Comfort disappeared quickly. Mud replaced home. Days blurred together. Time lost meaning. They sensed what was coming, but not how bad. Supplies were delayed. Preparation remained incomplete.
Hands shook. Fear became visible.
Silence spoke loudly. Everyone understood. Training was ending. Reality was approaching.
The ocean awaited them. So did death.
Confidence faded fast. Fear grew stronger. Night brought reflection and quiet terror. Identity mattered now. Survival mattered more. Orders were given. Questions stayed silent. Europe came into view. So did destiny. They were still unprepared, but there was no return. The past was gone, the future unknown. Soon they would learn. War shows no mercy. They stood in silence, each man hiding his fear. Training was over. The real war was about to begin. American soldiers crossed the Atlantic. For many, this was their first journey away from home. The ocean stretched endlessly before them. There was no turning back now. Families disappeared behind the horizon. Uncertainty replaced comfort. They wrote letters filled with hope. None knew what tomorrow held.
Confidence masked their fear. Smiles hid the truth.
They believed the war could be ended. Faith was still strong. Their uniforms were clean. Their minds were untouched by war. The Atlantic tested their resolve. Nature showed no mercy. Reality slowly set in. This journey was not an adventure. Europe finally appeared, a continent scarred by war. They stepped onto foreign soil. History watched silently. Veteran eyes studied the newcomers. They had seen this before. Allies watched without words. Experience separated them. Fresh faces met tired souls. Two worlds collided. They marched with confidence. War had not touched them yet. Civilians watched in silence. Hope and fear mixed together.
They joked about victory. None spoke of death.
The veterans knew better. War changes everyone. Training camps awaited them. Reality stood close.
Weapons replaced dreams. Preparation replaced hope.
Orders came fast. Mistakes were no longer forgiven. Training intensified. Time was running out. Nights brought quiet thoughts. Fear finally spoke. Sleep did not come easily. Tomorrow felt heavy. Morning arrived without mercy. Routine replaced comfort. They moved closer to the front. Each step mattered. War announced itself. The sound was unforgettable. Confidence began to crack. Fear found its way in. Lessons came without words. Survival was the message. They prepared themselves. No one felt ready. Clean boots met mud. Innocence began to fade. The trenches appeared ahead. Reality stood waiting. Fear became personal. There was no escape. They did not yet understand what war truly was. Weapons felt heavier now. So did responsibility. Hope still existed, but it was fragile. Darkness welcomed them. The war had begun. They stepped into history. General John J. Pershing demanded something bold. American troops would fight under their own command. They would not be scattered among European armies. America wanted its own identity on the battlefield. Pershing believed discipline would win wars. Order, not chaos, was his doctrine. Movement mattered more than defense. He rejected the idea of endless trench warfare. American forces trained to attack. Speed and morale were their weapons. European allies watched carefully. Some doubted American methods. Pershing rejected defensive thinking. He believed offense broke the enemy. Every decision carried risk. Lives depended on his judgment. Sometimes his strategy worked. Victories boosted morale. Sometimes the cost was devastating. Losses shocked the young army. Unprepared troops faced brutal realities. Training could not replace experience. Pershing felt the weight of command. Every casualty haunted him. Coordination became the new focus. American forces learned quickly. Night movements tested discipline. Fear followed every step forward. Orders changed rapidly. War demanded constant adaptation. Allies did not always agree. Pershing stood firm. The soldiers trusted their leaders. They followed orders without question. Combat tested every belief. Theory met brutal reality. Victory was never clean. Success carried scars. Leadership demanded sacrifice. Sometimes the price was unbearable. Mistakes became lessons. The army hardened. Experience reshaped strategy. Discipline grew stronger. Logistics became crucial. War depended on movement. Decisions were written in ink. Their consequences were written in blood. Confidence slowly replaced doubt. The army found its rhythm. Every advance had a cost. Not everyone returned. Silence followed chaos. Survivors counted the lost. Pershing adjusted his tactics. Command meant learning fast. American identity remained intact. That was Pershing's goal. Leadership shaped the outcome. Strategy decided who survived. America brought something new, a strength Europe no longer had. Fresh manpower crossed the ocean. Millions followed behind them. These men were not exhausted. They were just beginning. Europe saw something unfamiliar. Soldiers with energy and belief. Back home, factories worked non-stop. War production reached new levels. Weapons were produced in massive numbers. Speed became America's advantage. Supplies flowed across the Atlantic, endless and uninterrupted. The sea lanes stayed open. Germany failed to stop them. Allied armies felt relief. Help had finally arrived. Training intensified near the front. Preparation was urgent. New guns strengthened the lines. Firepower shifted the balance. Logistics kept the war alive. America mastered supply. Germany noticed the change. The numbers were against them. German troops felt the pressure. Relief would not come. Coordination improved among allies. Unity became strength. Fresh troops reinforced tired lines. Momentum slowly shifted.
Supplies arrived even under danger. Pressure never stopped.
There was little time to rest. The war demanded speed.
Germany struggled to replace losses. Resources were running thin.
Production never slowed. America outpaced the war.
Ships crossed the Atlantic endlessly, one after another.
Confidence spread among the Allies. Hope returned to the front.
German leadership saw the truth. Time was slipping away.
The battlefield no longer felt static. Movement decided survival. Firepower overwhelmed resistance. Balance shifted visibly.
Losses were replaced quickly. Germany could not keep up.
Retreat became more common. The tide had turned. American leadership sensed change. Victory now felt possible. The front lines moved again. Stalemate was broken.
Germany realized it too late. Time was no longer on their side. America paid a price for entering the war. Thousands of young men would never return home.
Their lives ended far from familiar streets, far from the families who loved them.
Many crossed the ocean full of hope. They would never cross it again.
Death did not arrive in glory. It came quietly, in the mud.
Names were reduced to metal tags. Lives reduced to numbers. Those who survived carried deep wounds. Some wounds could never heal. Doctors fought their own battle against time, pain, and death.
Hospitals overflowed with suffering. The war spared no one.
Letters were written with trembling hands. Many would be the last. Some words were never sent. Silence followed instead. Back home, letters brought dread. Every knock carried fear. Telegram messages changed lives forever. One moment erased a future. Families mourned in quiet rooms. Grief had no words.
Flags covered the cost of war, but they could not cover the pain.
Graves multiplied across foreign soil. Each marked a lost life. Survivors carried invisible scars. The war stayed with them. Each morning revealed new losses. The ground remembered everything. Prayers were whispered in the trenches. Hope was all they had left. Faith offered brief comfort. Death never waited. The land was torn apart. So were the men who fought on it. Many wondered if it was worth it. Few dared to ask aloud. Even victory demanded sacrifice. The price was measured in lives. The fallen rested far from home. Their sacrifice was permanent. Names etched into stone. Stories left unfinished. Those who returned were changed. The war followed them home. When the guns fell silent, the cost remained. War left behind broken equipment and broken dreams.
America entered late, but paid dearly.
Freedom demanded sacrifice. The dead answered the call. The cost of entry was clear, and it would never be forgotten. America had entered the war, and nothing would ever be the same again. The balance of the war had shifted. A new force stood on the battlefield. Germany saw the change, but the war was not over yet. Berlin knew time was running out. Decisions had to be made. One last gamble was forming, a final, desperate plan. America stood firm, unaware of what was coming next. Many wrote home that night. Some would never write again. The war had entered its final phase. Hope and fear walked together. Millions moved toward destiny. None knew the outcome. History was about to be decided on blood-soaked ground. They believed in the cause, even as death surrounded them. Germany prepared its final strike. There would be no turning back. The cost was unbearable, yet the fighting continued. The world stood on the edge, awaiting the final blow. Next episode, Germany's final gamble. Subscribe to War Unfiltered
and witness history exposed.